Welcome to Cax Bar and Podcast, Canada's first podcast bar. What that means is you can come here for food, you can come here for drinks, you can also come here and record a podcast. Come on down, we're located in downtown Calgary, Alberta in the Beltline area. See you soon.
I'm here today with Heather Keys, also known as Hypnoheather. I'm just going to read some of her description on her Instagram here, and you'll know why I've been curious to want to talk to you. Okay, so Heather's offers alternative and holistic health services. She specializes in hypnotherapy and coaching. She specializes in hypnosis certification training. She specializes in mindset, marketing, and business coaching. Okay. She's also a hypnotherapist mentor, and she recently has started a show called Unhypnotized. I'll put that all in the show notes there for people to explore. I met Heather at the Bitcoin press conference after party here a couple weeks back, and got into a quick conversation with Heather, and right away I was like, hey, this is right up my alley a little bit. Maybe not a lot of the hypnosis stuff, but what kind of got me going was when we just started talking about mindset things, manifestation, things of that nature. Mm-hmm. And that stuff that I utilize in my own life every day. I don't know if I'm using it right or doing it right, but so I've seen results when I have seen it. And then I've also seen, the opposite, like negative results when I've also been negatively executing my, a negative mindset. So that's, I brought Shawn because I know this is your world too. So, but you want to just give people like a summary of yourself here?
Sure. I'm glad my Instagram is fairly updated. I mean, there's so many things that I do.
Can we put the mic closer to your ear?
It's hard to.
I'm just going to tell people about herself real quick here.
So I'm glad my Instagram was fairly updated because there are many things I do. And because whenever we're approaching the topic of the mind, there's just no area of life left untouched. And so when people ask me, I was getting a bank account yesterday and the two women were just fascinated with my work, and they were like, well, what can you do, like weight loss and smoking? I'm like, well, that's a very, kind of boxed view of hypnosis, because really,
I love that's their first go-to. Help me lose weight and stop smoking.
Yeah, it's the most known because hypnosis is so recognized for habit control. And so, do you want to know what I told them?
Yeah.
I told them that day I had the thought that if we were in an apocalypse, if the apocalypse happened, and we had to just live off the skills that we had.
Okay.
I thought I would survive because there's pretty much not an issue or a problem that I can't help. Right. So, and then especially if people started to not have their meds or have this stuff, I could really help a lot of people. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
So I have a very
I don't know why I'm laughing.
All right. I know. I mean, that's why I said it, because it's funny, but it's also funny because it's true. Because there's not really any challenge or issue. There's always going to be a psychological or emotional, a psychosomatic element to it.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of describe what I do, is that, in a group or one-to-one capacity, I could help someone just use how their mind works for them instead of by default.
Okay.
And then, on the other professional aspects of training others to do the same. And then my most recent incorporation into my business, which is Bitcoin. I'm a Bitcoin agent and a Bitcoin consultant.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll keep going.
Well, and like you were saying about how you've seen the power of manifestation work for you.
Yeah.
You've seen how
specifically for me is literally law of attraction. Visualizing something. This whole bar is a testament to that process. When we started, me and my partner and our original partners wanted to do this. I remember picturing it. Now it didn't turn out exactly like it, but it was very weird how once you honed in the picture, creating the movie in your head, it's weird how, and then you really focus on imagining, you're literally using your imagination, imagining how it was going to feel because like all the gurus, I guess, explained like you got to feel it, right? Can't just be picturing it, because like the feeling part is the believing part, because you're basically trying to believe it into existence. And it is weird how just each step from not like having any connections to doing this, it just, the right people started coming, and then some wrong people too. And but it was weird how auspicious it was, the timing of meeting this person and that. And then so I was like, and I've been doing that in some capacity my whole life, just not knowingly doing it a lot of times. And then realizing I did that to like consciously doing it. So now and then the positivity thing as well, it like I've noticed it creates more positivity when you're able to do it, because but it's also not the end all be all. Like there's obviously many other like factors. But
I mean, it is layered. The law of attraction is layered, but I like what you said, because it shows me that you have an understanding of how it works. Like that's cool. Like you've obviously like worked on it, and that's what connected us in the first place to be having this conversation right now. And I'll say a couple things to that. So I had been really thinking about this today, because somebody was I was in a Twitter space and they were talking about this, and I thought, oh, they don't really have an understanding of how the law of attraction works. And the reason that I thought that is because they don't understand that, one, if your desire is not truly in harmony with like creating a better life for you and potentially for the world, it might not come true. And two, if you think that your desire should look a certain way instead of understand that you're going to meet some bad people in some good way or some good people along the way to that desire, and you understand that the unfolding of that manifestation is probably more valuable than actually getting there, then you're starting to understand.
Can you explain that part a little bit more?
Sure.
Yeah. Like the journey is more important than the result.
Because people get caught up in outcomes so much. And then if the outcome that they either imagined, envisioned, used affirmations for, even put hard work into creating, or spent $20,000 on a coach to get, didn't come true, then they think they did something wrong, or there's something wrong with them, or they just have to manifest better or something. But what's happening is that there's not a truly understanding of like how life works, because there's surrender and there's detachment, and like the things that we truly desire are there to motivate and inspire us, but so that we can learn the lessons that are meant for us in that project or in that offer. So you know how you said the gurus talk about how you got to like feel it? That was really good, because one of the reasons why hypnosis, or when people are in hypnosis and do some of these same things, work so amazing, or like miracles happen, is because they're in a place of zero resistance. So their conscious mind doesn't have the opportunity to be like, oh, like this is all the reasons. Like I was talking to someone about Bitcoin the other day, and they're like, okay, well, I'll think about this and get back to you. And I'm like, you know what? You can like talk yourself out of it on your own time.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. I got you.
Because people are always gonna we like, I do it too. We're human. We're gonna talk ourselves out of things, because like our beliefs will come in. And something that I really saw just right now when you said that is like, because I always say we see to believe, we believe to see. We don't see to believe. And a lot of people, they want the evidence first. Like, this is possible. Like when we're talking law of attraction, like they might ask you, like even the bank, or like if you went to like, when I went to like women's business things, they were like, well, do the research and see what's out there and make the plan. And I was like, yeah, but that's why I'm here, because I saw it doesn't exist, so I need to create it.
That was exactly my approach too. I can definitely relate on that, because no one in my family are entrepreneurs. So when I threw this idea at them, like they weren't not supportive. They were just like well, how does this work? Like the bar, restaurant, podcast studio, podcast bar, and then, and I was like, I don't have all the answers, but I just know I have to just, but it wasn't hard for me to believe it. That was why it was so easy to like take the steps. I was more sure of this than I was sure of like going to university back when I went. That one I just like went because parents were like, go to university. I'm like, okay, well, I got into this program, not this one. They're like, take it, go. And then I'm like, all right, ball's rolling. Now I'm here. And half the time I did not care about what I was learning. And sometimes I did, but
yeah, of course, you can find interest in layers, but that's a good point, because I know for me, I always know when I'm on to something when people are like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's true.
Like nobody thought that you could be a career hypnotherapist, especially in the way that I have been. And then also I find that same attitude comes along with Bitcoin, but it kind of comes along with anything, because because like, say for example, you saw the vision. Yeah. So if you were my client, I would help you really tune into your vision of that, because of course we can't expect other people to see your vision.
Yeah.
And then sometimes other people, like people try to like get people to see their vision, and they get discouraged, and then don't follow through on their vision, and then get depressed, because it is really depressing to not follow through on your vision because of other people's doubt.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I would say that happened to me until I'm 38, and this process officially began probably 6-7 years ago, but talking about it, but the action took place only 3 years ago, right? Yeah. So there's still this 2-year period where that was during COVID, so that's why we stopped. Yeah, COVID, we had the idea before COVID. And then, fair. So no, but it's like that with everything though, and it was just I actually, Arnold Schwarzenegger was the one that kind of really said something that it was just for him a throwaway comment, and then for me it was just ding, because he basically said you have to approach your life without plan B, with no safety net, because he was saying because if you put plan B or safety net, then you're not really truly all in on your vision. And then now some people were taking that thing he said so literally, as in they're well, if I'm going all in as a pro athlete and I get paralyzed and I didn't have a plan B, I didn't go to school. It's no, that's not what he means. He just means you have to the belief has to be so effortless and natural, because you're aligning with who you are, with what you're passionate about, that there's no plan B, because you are that thing. Plan B because plan B is not who you are.
I love that. So
then I just went for it. I dove headfirst in with my partners, and we just everything. And it was just funny. I mean, it was as simple as the first step was, wait, how do I start a business on Google? Just to remind myself. And it's step 1, get an incorporation.
That was before Chat GPT, when it would just Chat GPT would literally just be here is all the steps you need to start a bar and podcast.
Oh yeah. Didn't have that. Just had to wing it. And then I don't know, it was almost like a scratch and find card as you unscratch each the picture show.
Sure, but obviously you were already curious enough to be investigating or learning about how to create something or how to manifest something.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. It's sure, there are practical applications to creating a business, all of which at one point after my business was really successful, I thought I should maybe learn about having a business. and then once I got into that, I realized, oh, this is kind of limiting, because it puts all of these steps that you have to do before, which is okay if that's where the person is naturally in their process. But when you're talking about having a feeling, and especially having an inspired action, I've just got to see this in the world.
Yeah.
I have to see this in the world.
Yeah. The main feeling was, this was the one where the feeling of imagining the regret was so overwhelming that I was okay, whether this like, you know, this succeeds or it fails, or like everything's different after. It's like this, I was at a fork in the road. Like I knew it'd be an itch in my back every day if I didn't take action. So I really had no choice in a way. Like I had to see this one through.
That's the way I see it. There's just not a choice when you have that impulse or have that feeling, but especially when you can understand that, like, because I don't think I explained this, that like that the way is the reward. Right.
That one's got me still thinking.
Because I think we're always going to come back to that, because the biggest way that people get in their own way of their success is by thinking that they should be somewhere other than they are, or that because this isn't the way they imagined it or like worked to manifest it, then that something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of times when people have those types of thoughts, like, I mean, we could look at anybody at any point in life, right? We could look at anyone. Maybe they thought they would be married. Maybe they thought they would have a family. Maybe they didn't think they would get divorced. Maybe they just stayed in that job for a couple of years.
Quite
to
literally
pay their
everything.
bills. Like, you know, maybe they should have played more soccer when they were younger and they could have went big time. You know, whatever it is, there's always, and then maybe they're seeing other people that have like that they want. You know, there's always an opportunity for us to feel bad about where we're at if we are just even tuning into the desire of something we never had and wanted. But where that's a problem is when we start to feel bad about ourselves about it. So say we start to feel bad, or say, you know, someone starts to feel bad about like, what is wrong with me? Like, because I made this mistake, or I didn't do this, or I did this, now I don't have that. And then that's going to feel bad. You know, anytime that we're in regret or jealousy or grief, like for what we didn't have, it's okay to have those feelings. But the problem is that then when we try to make a to-do list of what we have to improve to not feel that way. So that's the problem. And I want to address this just because you talked about feelings and manifestation and how key that is. And the problem is that there's no solution to a feeling.
Go on.
So if you have a feeling, okay, so first of all, this example, right? You're feeling bad because you're not where you thought you would be in your life. Not you specifically, but you know, you know, you're feeling bad that you're not where you thought you'd be in your life. So then you think, okay, right, I've got to make this plan. Like, and lots of people will come to me and say, Heather, help me do this every day. Help me make this better. Help me improve this, right? And that's something that I learned from like having those conversations literally 8,000 times of like, oh, right. Because if I was just a regular practitioner in that sense, and I was just like, okay, let's work on getting you motivated and giving you confidence and helping you get there, it would be helpful. Like they would start doing it, but it would be so short-lived because like the reason for doing it is to feel better. And that feeling is only happening because
you're pumping them up.
Well, and the feeling bad is only happening because they think they should be somewhere else. So I found it to be really easy to go, well, as soon as they start to see that they shouldn't be anywhere other than they are, then they're going to feel better. And then they don't have to do all this stuff to feel better. So I found it to be really like simple in a complex way, because many people are really holding on to that belief. Like, if I could just if I could just be motivated or procrastinate less, I would feel better. But if we don't first address the fact that their own thinking is causing them to feel bad in the first place, then it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Especially if that's their subconscious default thinking. Because the like, have you heard of Jocko Willink, by the way? He's one of my heroes. He's a retired Navy SEAL, and he has it's called the Jocko podcast. But this guy's like a real life GI Joe, like, you know, just just a warrior, but also family man,
Right.
like super smart, has his own podcast, philosophical, but
Oh, nice.
he has this one thing called mind control. And it's about controlling your own mind, and he explains like, he has these little sayings in it. Like, example, one of it was, oh, how do I become tougher? He's like, be tougher. He's like, how do I wake up early and every day? He's like, wake up early every day. And then it's like, well, how do I stop eating sugar? He's like, stop eating sugar. And then he explained it as like, that's mind control. Like, your subconscious mind's going to do whatever it wants, but you have that conscious mind, exercise it. Like, and when I thought of that, like, I even wrote it on my phone. It's helped a lot, because like what you explained about the feelings, like, yeah, like I'm like a human, I'm going to have those low feelings. But in the past, when I had no skills or mental toolbox skills, I just let those low feelings, that was how I was going to react. Now I'm depressed today, or like,
Right.
oh, now I'm happy. It's like, but you use the mind control thing, like just follow that first, because that's how you want to feel, and then from there, it's almost like a fake it till you make it thing. And then the subconscious part like catches up, as far as the useful parts go. Cause like the non-useful parts is like, what you really got to execute this mind control thing. And I don't know, it's a tactic I use, because if I didn't use it, there's no way I would have accomplished anything to get up to this point. Because there's so many steps here, like the amount of hurdles we had starting this business. Like I honestly could say, if I didn't have that mental aptitude, I would have just quit. Like there's so many roadblocks. But I don't know. I know I said a lot there, but
No, I like that. I mean, that's a very masculine approach, but I'm glad that it worked for you, because at least it taught you to understand how you're not at the mercy of your emotions.
Yeah.
Like, that's really good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because,
Well worded. Yeah.
Because, for example, like if anyone's watching me, sometimes I'm peeping the basketball game.
Yeah.
I'm like USA, Serbia, Olympics, and like, I'm just like, are they getting ahead? And so one way I like to talk about this is with basketball, because I always want to send messages to the NBA players of like, when you can really see when either their emotions get the better of them or their mind. Like, you can see when like they're psychologically getting pulled down, that they just can't get out of it. Or like, if we take the finals, like if we see kind of Luka's like emotional immaturity, we can see that, yeah, he wasn't going to really be a champion at this point in time yet, because he has so much to learn. But we could use that as like an understanding of how much, no matter what level that you're at, if you don't pay attention to your emotional psychology, it'll still get the best of you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's always good for people to learn that their emotions are not a reflection of their capacity or their value or like what they can do. But at the same time, the reason why I said that's a very masculine approach is just because it's missing. It's like missing a piece.
Oh, it's probably missing many pieces,
well,
to be honest.
There's an understanding of the subconscious, of how like, the thoughts you think eventually get absorbed. And that's why, even for me now, I don't see hypnosis as the be all and end all of anything. I just know the value of it, because when somebody is in hypnosis, they are in a state of no resistance. So then if I said to them, wake up early, or do this, or just do what you have to do no matter how you feel, it's absorbed directly into the subconscious, instead of having to just keep telling your conscious mind like over and over and over. But then at the next iteration of that, like when you start to realize like the changes is possible at your whole level of being, because once you start to see the effects of that, you inevitably go down a rabbit hole of life, life, spirit, mind, and you start to realize like, not only might your subconscious mind be very susceptible to how you think, but the way that you interpret your, even your life, your thoughts, what you would need to keep going might sometimes end up being a coping mechanism.
Can you expand on
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
Because I'm always gonna take it deeper because
No, this is why I brought you on. Yeah. Like I'm
because I did so much work in the subconscious mind, and when we're talking about you mentioned the new podcast that I have called Unhypnotized.
Yeah.
And the reason that it's called Unhypnotized is that I realized from doing all this hypnosis that all I was really doing was unhypnotizing people from like the thoughts and the beliefs and like the things that they believe or think or the way they see things that is keeping them unhappy, keeping them from manifesting what they know they're capable of, keeping them from their full potential, and then most importantly, keeping them from their peace.
Yeah. The peace part's an interesting thing, but go on.
Yeah, I know that's a whole other avenue.
Yeah, because I'm not. I used to think I wanted peace, per se, and I'm not saying that in a facetious way. I meant like, but now I'm just more like, I don't know. I just want to see myself grow more than anything. That's like, I'd rather be not at peace. Maybe we have different definitions, but I just want to, if 20 years from now, when I look back, I want to see myself unrecognizable. Like I want to see that, although I'm 38, but so when I'm 58, I want to be somehow in better shape. I want to be even sharper, even smarter. I just want to be, I don't know. I just want to keep leveling up until this game is over, because to me that's the coolest part of this whole thing. You just stop leveling up. So I don't know if there's peace in that though, right? Because unless I have a very direct, pragmatic definition, as in, oh, I made enough money now I can just rest on a beach. Like, I don't know. Like,
yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I think that's really good for listeners too, because, what does peace even mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like you, I'm not really interested in staying.
Yeah. I mean,
still, unless I was.
Yeah.
Unless I am one day.
Like I have this one friend that turned me on to, have you heard of Mooji? Mooji? He's a Jamaican Chinese, basically Buddha, in a short version. But his whole journey in life is that he's an awakened being, if you will. So like, basically he's just, he has no more ego, if you will. And he's essentially, those are his teachings, that like the goal of our consciousness is to essentially realize like we are the one super consciousness, if you will. So like to him, that's peace. And then my one friend, like that was all he was trying to explain to me. Like, he's like, you got to achieve that. Cause he had the polar opposite situation where he was like, okay, I need money. So then he just got balls deep into like making money, and then he made a bunch of money. And he's like, I gotta be jacked. And then he went balls deep into the gym. He got like super jacked. Yeah. And then he had all these material possessions. And then like at an early age, like no one was able to keep up with him. And then a lot of people call him successful, but by the time he hit 30, he just had this emptiness where he threw that all away to do the monk thing, really. And now he's relinquished all material possessions and doesn't care about bodybuilding anymore. And he's just like, and like, but to him it's because he wanted peace. Like, and
and he fell into like society's model that peace is found outside of yourself. Like, that's the thing. It's the model that we're raised in, because it's the model of capitalism and it's the model of the fiat world.
Yeah.
Like, peace is found through having these things. Security is found through having money and stuff. And I guess for me, because I had this awakening in 1998, where life was never the same for me. I shaved my head. I sold all my possessions.
Oh, nice. I kind of
I had a guru that I was meditating to hours every day. And I did a lot of iterations on that since then. And of course, that's how I learned how to heal myself, and then eventually came into a career or a profession of healing others. And then just to say another thing, 'cause I know that's an avenue we can go down too.
Yeah.
But just to say another thing is like, you know, it's always part of the path of, like you said, like, yeah, I ultimately, like, realizing our inherent oneness is very peaceful, because
It
then
takes away all the, like, I achieved that to a certain extent with mushrooms when I took like the hero dose. I remember talking back to my buddy. I was like, I get what you're saying now. I get it. But the effect wore off for me. But I don't know. It's like
but it's still not like, it doesn't have to, it's like, okay, it's like, it's more of like a place to land in a sense. Like, it's because if it becomes a desire to achieve, then it's just like all of the rest of the material possessions.
It's just, that's the thing.
Yeah,
you're
because
achieving
then
now.
it's like people are like, well, then I just need this to feel secure, or like I need this to feel safe. And like I talk about this all the time, because like my community and my clients, and like if they're watching this, they know, like, our favorite expression is, everything is always working out for me. I love Abraham Hicks, and like you know, I love the law of attraction. But what I realized even about that sentence is that it was often being used as a coping mechanism. Okay, well, if I can just believe that everything is working out for me, then I'll feel okay, and then I'll be able to be okay, which is okay. That's why they designed it, because it's general and it keeps working anyway. But the real realization is, if we truly surrender, you know, to oneness, then we know, like, it doesn't matter if your podcast bar isn't successful at some point and you have to close it and move on to something else. It doesn't matter if, like, everything you put into something ends up like you get there and then it's not really what you thought it would be, because it's the lesson. And something that I've been realizing lately, because I'm preparing to have a really great guest on my podcast tomorrow about the Tao of Bitcoin. And something I've really realized about in my journey of Bitcoin is that it's got that same ability to teach like a guru, because that's been my world for decades, you know? And something I really realized is that once somebody starts to understand and embrace Bitcoin, it starts to sound like another thing, right? It starts to sound like another solution, just like hypnosis, or like this guru, or like the law of attraction. Like, it starts to sound like another thing to like be a part of. But what it really is, like these things that we love, is an ethos. Like, it's speaking to a way of creating life and beliefs. Like, it's way better to do something you love as a job, right? But it's part of like an ethos, because it recognizes the way that we've all become somewhat enslaved by needing these positive affirmations and by needing these coping mechanisms, because we're still living in a society fueled by money that doesn't increase in value.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then underlying, like, if you think really about the subconscious, like, it's great that we can like use our mind to be better, but at some point everyone is going to end up in like the hole of feelings, where it's like, no matter what I tell myself, I can't get out of this hole. Because there's, at a certain point of everybody's journey, there's always a moment where we have to feel the, you know, just what we're subjected to by living in the world at this time, in all of the areas, whether it's the medical industrial complex, whether it's a financial system, political system, whatever it is. At a certain point, when you're growing and evolving and becoming tuned into the oneness, you can't help but see the people and the systems that are not for the abundance of all. And that fall to innocence sucks. Like, fall from innocence sucks.
Oh yeah. And I don't know, this, like, you gave me a lot to, process there, and or process from a different lens, because like this information is it's all around us. It's being told all the time. But I guess my, well, my mom actually kind of said this, because my mom's big into Buddhism and things like that. But like there's an idea that that maybe this actually is hell, if you will.
Oh,
Because think about it, like to be in a confined body that experiences a high in birth and growth to loss, and then death, right? And it's like, and the whole point of this is, well, essentially to release yourself back to the oneness, or some people might label it called going back to God or something like that. And then it's kind of like similar to how you point out, it's about the lesson, not the end point. I mean, because even what's that fellow's name, Rockefeller, like he had everything, right? And then he was dying at 50 or something like that, and then until he started giving again, then he lived to 90 something, because it's like, so with that approach, I kind of like stay mindful sometimes of like, like, hey, remember, like, don't get too, like, what do you call it? Don't take this too serious. because like,
well, the most evolved person can see the humor in life. That's Capricorn. I'm Capricorn. I have 4 planets in Capricorn, and Capricorn, like, the symbol of Capricorn is like the ability to like see the humor in life is the highest evolved species. But that's also considered sometimes the devil, because it shakes things up if you just laugh when people are being like, no, this is a serious problem.
Yeah.
But you can see, and that's one of the gifts of awakening all the time, so to speak. And it is also why people get so mad when you're happy. It's really interesting. I found, like, going through sort of the worst years of my life, I was the most happy, because like it brought me to the total surrender and realization that happiness doesn't come from anything outside of yourself. And once you know that, well, things become funnier. Things become funnier. And I love that kind of hell on earth, because I was thinking about this the other day, and how I was watching something about I think it was spiritual TikTok cults.
Okay, yeah.
And I was thinking about this idea of like these TikTok cults that like keep the kids really afraid because they make them fear hell. And I was thinking about how, oh, that's a crazy power. That's crazy power, because if you can make someone like afraid of something they can't see, they don't know, after they die, to get them to act how you want them to act now, that's crazy. Because like, and this whole idea of hell, right? To me, hell is like definitely in the human form. Because like we are here to like go through all of these like really intense experiences, and I think that's also how we find happiness, because if you can see the value in feeling like so hurt or so angry or so scared, like you're alive.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like there's nothing like a strong emotion to feel alive.
Yeah.
And then I think it takes us down a path which is, I guess this is easier for me to say because I saw so many people go to similar places in hypnosis. So if we think about hypnosis just for a moment, and like, have you ever heard of Brian Weiss?
No.
So Brian Weiss was a very esteemed psychologist that started to he started to experiment with past life regression. And like basically at some point had to just like leave his whole career because he just like kept taking, like people kept going to the same places in past life regression that like, and especially in the parts like when they die before they go to another life. So one of the things about past life regression and hypnosis is we take people to past lives And whether that's true or not, it's usually got some therapeutic effect for them in this life, right? So we don't need to get into like if it's true or not, but it also created him, and then others after him created like a substantial body of work of like the experiences that people were having when they died that were just the same across the board over and over and over and over and over.
What was it?
I mean, it's basically like a question. It's basically like going to a place of like, and then meeting like different people that were in your life and had passed, like sort of your soul family. And then at a more advanced level, we do take people to like their spiritual council and say, like, did you come to do, like, how did it go with what you came to do in this life? And like, there's a bit of a council. But the main thing was that they were just free of the hell of being human.
Yeah.
Like the main thing was that they were no longer entrapped in being human and they were free.
Yeah. Like
I don't know how we got to that. But.
Oh, it's just the way the river unfolded, if you will. The main river just hit a rock, and now it's no. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, this is podcasting, I guess. Conversation. But it's funny. Okay, like our friend Dave. Which that podcast will be out soon, by the way. Yeah. But you guys remember after filming our podcast, he made fun of me for asking about God in the middle of the podcast or whatever, but it wasn't so much about like, I wasn't trying to get a specific answer, I was just curious, cause like you guys are all smart people and full of life experiences, and everyone can offer each other, like their experiences overall and give their viewpoint. But I guess the main thing I was either trying to ask him was, and I can't recall now if I asked him this on the podcast. It might have been the guest after, but it's like if you are God, like you're the one conscious source, which we kind of are anyway. But and you've now experienced all these lives, because like, would you choose no existence? Or would you choose continuing to create existence with all of its ups and downs,
Yeah.
Like that's the tricky one.
I would always choose existence. Like,
me too.
I would, but I mean, I think that's.
But why? Why would you always choose?
I would because I'm always evolving, like a lot of my motivation in this life that I was just like, well, I'm going to do it in this life so I don't have to come back and do it again or like do worse.
Yeah.
Like I think it's, and I think it's always interesting when we get into these things because, I know having lost my dad a couple of years ago and seeing how my spiritual grounding just really helped me in that so much more than say other people around me that didn't have that spiritual grounding. But at the same time, I'm really aware of the fact that I don't know what's true. Like I always say, I believe everything and nothing, because I don't need something to be proven to be true. I know that for me, believing that my soul will live on makes my life better. But I don't, sometimes my mom, she'll say to me, like, because it's really hard for her to lose my dad, which was her life partner for 50 plus years. And she'll say, I had this thought the other day, like, maybe I should just be like you. And like, it just feels better to believe, like, maybe I will meet him again. So I might as well believe that, but at the same time, it's like you were talking about, it's one thing to think something and it's another thing to embody it.
Yeah. Actually, do you actually believe it?
Yeah. And that's why it can be really effective for us to relax and feel into things, or like be in a space that's like less critically factor elevated. So like be in a more parasympathetic nervous system state, or be in a more relaxed space. That's why when people do psychedelics and stuff, they see these things that are already there for us to be seen if we would just let ourselves relax more into it. And a general spiritual practice is about relaxing that ego so that you can, be more directed by like your higher mind. Right? Because ultimately, even when you're manifesting and you're thinking, say, when you envision this space and when you could feel it, what you're really doing is like you're being the CEO of your mind. And the subconscious mind works in the way that if you like, it will seek to create what you tell it. So if you're the CEO of your mind, yeah, you definitely need to feel and believe to see. But the extra ingredient, the ingredient that's often missing is like the allowing. Because there's action and there's allowing. And at some point, if we're always at odds with life, right? Like people always say, why is this happening to me? Or what is wrong with me? Or just like, if we're always at odds at life and we think we're a victim to life, then we're not really getting the best of life because we're triggered and we're affected and we're thinking that, again, things outside of ourselves are making us unhappy.
Yeah, no, yeah, I do understand what you mean to a certain extent, because you're right. Sometimes, you'll hit those wise moments where you're just kind of like, dude, it's all good. You know what I mean? Like literally in every,
you're tripping.
Yeah. Well, because
yeah,
I don't know, like to, because to kind of circle back to just one top, well, not topic, like one section of this conversation ago where I was asking about existence versus non-existence. This kind of ties in with how I see it is like if no existence before you existed and no existence after you existed is whatever you call it. Say it's heaven, like never ending bliss or whatever. Like if that is always on the table, right? Then existence, you may as well have that too. You get what I mean? Because it's like you're going to have that at the beginning and the end. The in between could be also that, which is non-existence. So you may as well just try existence, because existence at least comes to an end each time. So you may as well come in and have, you kind of get how I'm phrasing it.
I just think even if that's not on offer at the beginning or the end, you might as well, because what else do you have?
Well, I guess unless you have to exist forever, like each life iteration
just never ended,
then I'm like, well, I choose non-existence then. But if I knew that existence,
I think I could become a master at it.
Okay. No, that'd be cool.
But still, I mean, that's like a Groundhog Day.
Yeah, because I'm sure there'd be never ending evolution too. I don't know. It's a tricky one, because it's like all those vampire movies, like, I can't get enough of living. It's like
immortality. I think that I think that on some level, immortality is a great marketing tactic, because on some level, because of our culture's obsession with youth and like looking youthful, on some level, immortality to me is just a marketing technique, but it's a big one. It's the reason why people will choose a pharmaceutical for like a quick fix to not have a symptom instead of taking like the harder path to like healing the root. It's the reason why people will generally just like even stay in their jobs that they hate, because of this like this false sense of security, in the sense of like, well, you don't have to do this forever. It's just for this amount of time. Or I've had, I had a client that he was like, every time I feel like that, I just tell myself 5 more years. I'm like, and once we unravel it, we could see, well, that was more of like a coping mechanism, but it wasn't even also true. Because he might not feel that way for 5 years, but what was really happening is that he was more denying himself of like how he was feeling and what he might want more for his life.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I think, well, to be honest, I think majority of people are doing that, and it sucks. Like I definitely have a different feeling to my existence ever since I became an entrepreneur. Because before it was like, no, like, Shawn, keep it real. You don't want to do this. This isn't aligned with what you're doing. You're just doing this because you get a comfortable paycheck every period, and then you get 2 days to do what you really want, right? It's like, no, like, why not do what you really want all the time?
Well, and this is the creature, this is what they call the creature, because to me, this is when we think about awakening and having the courage to feel, to say to yourself, Shawn, this isn't, you're kind of lying to yourself.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was easy. There was no courage there. I woke up, I was like, this
yeah, but it does take people a lot of courage to see that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not to see it because they're already feeling it, but to see it,
something about it.
To see it in a way like you can't keep living like this. And like
bug there.
That's okay. And I think that's a really great topic, because the creature, so to speak, which again is this this financial system that's built on lies and theft.
Yeah.
That keeps people trapped in it. So for me, I don't have a judgment of people. I understand that I got caught up in it too. I thought, oh, I just got to some real great level of success. I had the most successful practice in Saskatchewan or something like that. And then I just was like, oh, this comes with a lot of like other, like, it's like you really have to work hard to get ahead in the creature system, because the harder you work and the more people that I helped, the more I had to pay to the government. And the less I was supported by anything, by any groups, by any systems, by any people, by any programs. And yet at the same time, I could have helped way more people. But and then when you start to realize how hard you worked for that success, and then your money is constantly losing value, then again, it's one of those dark nights of the soul, or that fall from innocence.
Yeah.
Where you lose your virginity in the financial success world, like your friend, and then you lose your virginity in the being buff success world, and then you lose your virginity in the marriage world. Like, there's all these ways that you lose your innocence, and that's what I love. Like, I love helping people like become unhypnotized, and like just also help them feel through the pain of losing your innocence, because it sucks to realize like you are living in a system and that does not care about your health or your well-being at a real level.
Oh yeah.
And then sometimes like we have an opportunity come along. Like for me, it was hypnosis and helping people like understand their own mind and like start to create freedom from within, and start to like realize that at first you can just break free in yourself. Like, even if you're still living in this world, you can actually change your life without denial. Like, you can stop kind of numbing yourself or denying things. And then once we get to this level, which is what I love about Calgary and the Bitcoin community, is because like then you get to actually start to connect with people. And I suppose this is the healing industry on some level too, the healers that are genuinely in it to like help make the world a better place, one person at a time. And then but that's the Bitcoin community, and
excuse me. That's
why I've just like really embraced it so wholeheartedly, because it's the exact same thing. Like, it's not made up. It's like something that offers hope for people, because it's a worldwide community of people that are like coming back to value. And creating something of value that is for the abundance of all. And that's also why I think that like law of attraction and manifestation.
Excuse me, sir.
You have some of my water if you want.
Oh, I'll get it after.
Like, that's why I think that like abundance, or like that's why I think manifestation and the law of attraction isn't working as well as it used to. If people are trying to manifest or create success in the material realm in the fiat world. Like, I know for me, once I saw that, I'm like, I don't even want that money anymore, because that money is so tainted, loses value. And then not only are we not, like, if you think about everyone isn't making more when all the groceries and everything have gone up. Like, we're not making more.
If everyone's wanting to make money, well, there's not enough of it to go around properly for everyone's dreams to come true.
We're not making more than the raise of inflation. You know, like Ben BTC Sessions that was here. He did on his show, he was talking about his wife that's a nurse, and how when they did the math, they realized, like, I think she's like 10 or 13 years into it. And like, with all of her seniority and all of her raises, she was actually making more, like, when she started than she is now, because it hasn't leveled up with the rate of inflation.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like a nothing move to keep.
So then, of course, we're going to be depressed and anxious and like unhappy, because like feeling powerless is the lowest vibration.
Yeah.
Right. So did you ever do the emotional guidance scale of Abraham Hicks?
No.
Okay, I'll send you it.
Yeah.
I
know who Abraham Hicks is.
Yeah, it's amazing. It was like, I really wanted to like go on a space and yell this today, but like, it's amazing, because when you realize, like, there's lower vibrations and higher vibrations, right? And the lowest vibration is like blaming yourself, like being down on yourself, and powerlessness. And so a lot of people try to manifest joy, riches, happiness from this, like, the literal, there's like 12 on the scale around. They literally try to go from the lowest of the low to just winning the lottery, you know? But the thing is like, it's actually even a better vibration to blame someone else than yourself. But what happens is that when we're in,
is it, oh, sorry to interrupt. Is it that low if you don't do anything about it? But if you blame yourself to like get yourself to do more, wouldn't that be like the prop? No. Okay.
Because that's like, then you're just another product of society, because that's the thing. If we can get everyone to blame themselves and think it's something wrong with them, the reason they're not succeeding, instead of the system, it's like, no matter what you try, the root of why you're trying to do it is, again, to feel better about yourself. Because like, you can, but here's the thing, is like, you can move yourself up on the scale. So you definitely still have personal autonomy, right? Because you can move yourself up on the scale. Because that's why we see, say, if we go online, you know, we see a lot of people blaming everybody else, even blaming the systems. Because even blaming the systems on some level, it feels better, because it's not blaming ourselves. But there's still a sense of powerlessness in that, because like, we can't really change it. So then, as you climb up the scale, there's like anger, or jealousy, or fear. Well, fear is probably lower, but then it gets to contentment. So then once you get to a place of contentment, which is a true, you know, type of a feeling, you start to surrender. Like, right, this is what it is. And then you can start to move up to optimism, positive expectation and belief. And then you can start to move into like joy.
I don't know if I quite. I don't know. Yeah. See, like that one doesn't sit well with me as much, because of like I'll give you an example. Like,
tell me.
Like, so Kobe Bryant, for instance, like when Kobe first came into the NBA. Oh, do you need a drink, by the way?
No, I'm great.
Yeah.
I'm great.
Yeah. Kobe Bryant, like when he first came to the NBA, like I wasn't a fan of him, right? Because I was a huge Michael Jordan guy. I was just sitting here like, oh God, here's this guy trying to be like Michael, and Jordan was just such a superhero during his prime, right? And but then as years went on, and Kobe started talking about, like, he calls it the Mamba mentality.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. And like I was sitting there, and I was like, huh. And then And then it's kind of like, I don't know, it just kind of clicked. And because what did Kobe do? He was just never satisfied. He says the work's never done. And there was this one famous way he explained, like, okay, my kid is sick. I need to do all this business stuff. I still have to work on my game. I have to take my wife out. I have to lift the weights. I have to eat. And he like factored in. He's like, wow, that's 20 hours of stuff I have to do today.
Yeah.
He's like, there's only 24 hours. So I only get to sleep 4. And then he wrote, I only get to sleep 4, and that is it. And I mean, like, that's extreme, right? I mean, like, but I was sitting there thinking, like, holy shit, like you would think that as being a multi-millionaire, maybe potentially becoming a billionaire athlete, this guy would have the most sleep. So he's rich, but no, the richer he is, the less sleep he gets. But, you know, because he's doing more. Yeah, like, because he's doing more. But then Kobe would explain how he's like, okay, I'm the first one to practice, the last one out of practice, and I practice in between practice when everyone else is out doing whatever. And then he explains like the reason why I have my left hand circle up hook shot move is because I drill that 100 times extra. For sure. And then when I think about that, it's like, because he constantly tells himself like that's not enough. But it ties into what you said, because the journey is like the thing, because he's not trying to just win championships. Like he says, if he was healthy, he'd just do this all day, all night, all the time. Like, it's the path. Right. And then, and when I heard that, that's kind of like what I'm trying to do, but in my own world. Right. Yeah. Like, so like whenever I feel low, because I'm going to feel inadequate when I compare myself to my fellow entrepreneurs who are more ahead and like make more sales, or their bars more bumping, more, it's like, I'm like, hey, but I've learned the Jocko mindset thing, where I'm like, well, that's good, because now I have something else to work towards. Right. Like, I don't know, but I guess I'm more,
Kobe.
Yeah.
I mean, Mamba mentality all the way.
Yeah.
The thing is,
you know what I mean, though? Like that's what I meant by I'm not really chasing. Oh, sorry. I'm not really chasing the piece. I'm more chasing.
I get that, but I think that's also, you have to remember that was at like a different time in consciousness, first of all, because like there's so much I can say. The first thing I want to say is just like, yes, we got in a basketball analogy, and, that's part of what I was saying, like, even when I was thinking about kind of the emotional and mental mastery and physical mastery of athletes, and how like I came back to basketball after being so into it as a child and like a teen, and watching LeBron bring the Cavs to the championship, because like, you could see that once he got it in his mind that this is happening and we are winning, he would just make it happen. And and that's why so many people are always fighting about like him and Jordan, because he just like came so close. Like he just emulated so much of that like Mamba mentality, and same with Kobe. But I think we have to remember a couple of things. Like, we have to remember that one, destiny plays a huge role. Like, obviously that was Kobe's destiny to be that, and he felt so committed to that. And like, look, his life was like short by a lot of comparisons, R.I.P. Kobe. And like, that's where we get back into like soul's purpose and like evolutionary motivation, because not everyone came here to be Kobe. And for him that worked, but also when we look at consciousness evolving and the world evolving, I can honestly tell you 100% that used to work. Like, the world was built on this belief system of like hard work equals success. And don't get me wrong, like I have been the person that has showed up consistently to my work and to my groups and to my chapters and to like everything more than anyone. And I do attribute that to my success. But I also know that doesn't work anymore as a soul entity, because now we are at a time when there is so much more consciousness of like sort of what we're working against. And we have a deeper understanding about like how, and maybe, he was very aligned with like, say, his purpose, and like he was fine with sleeping. But what it's caused mostly in the Western world is like a lot of burnout. And a lot of people that are just chugging caffeine and energy drinks and toxins.
Funny thing about the sleep thing for him was, I think it was 2 years later after he said that comment. he was like, he experimented with increasing his sleep back by 2 hours to get to 6.
Yeah.
And then he literally his stats went up by 4.
Exactly.
And he's like, oh, okay, well, I was wrong on that.
Exactly.
So,
like,
so he actually, he hit a point of like, what do you call it? Diminishing returns.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. So even, you know, he made a mistake.
Everyone I know, including myself, we all been there. We all burnt out, you know, and then we burnt out. And then like everything in life is a lesson. And then we learned, right. Like, but especially now, that's why people are so frustrated with their children, because they're trying to like instill these old values in their children. And again, it's not about not working hard, but it's about aligned action. It's about inspired action with the balance of allowing. So when people try to instill in their kids, like, this is how you have to be, this is what you have to do, and they're just not believing it because they don't see that to be true anymore.
So you're saying like literally the very foundation of existence has shifted now.
Yes.
And like
how to get ahead and how to get successful is different. I mean, for I was going to say for God's sake, but I never said that before.
Well, even the like, numbers.
Like,
sorry, keep going.
Well, it's just like, look at people who literally make millions off of like their YouTube channel or whatever, right? Like it's great because we have evidence now that this is not true. But I'm not saying they don't work hard, because we're not taking hard work out of it.
People value different things now.
So, well, and we're just saying that hard work isn't enough. Like I'm sure we could go outside right now and find people that have 2 jobs that are not getting ahead. And they will tell you. I've been working hard.
Yeah.
Like, you know?
Yeah. No, I hear you. So, so that's why something like Bitcoin is a good thing, because it breaks away from, because like the very first thing that you're working hard for is devaluing every time or whatever. So it's like, and then no matter how hard you work, like I'm gonna, this is a touchy subject, right? Because part of it is like, if we're just looking at the system as a whole, no matter how hard you work, you can't really get ahead. You have to have like basically a second job and like learning to invest or like managing your finances, and then still be at the mercy of the fiat creature. But then what we're talking about, which is like getting aligned with like your higher purpose, or like creating something that you want to see in the world. I do believe that like once you point that target and you say like, this is where I'm going. That the universe supports you, like you said. Then you just end up meeting these people that are like, holy crap, like this totally aligns. Or like even us being here, it was like perfect timing for like when my new show was coming out with Dave. And, you know, so I don't want to be like all doom and gloom, because like we do, like the whole point of this is like, if you let yourself break free from that mindset, miracles happen. Like miracles literally freaking happen, because like life will support you in what you want to do, like in what you feel called to do. No, I fully agree. I mean, like even this right here, this part is what I'm like super into, right? Like there's a gazillion bars and restaurants. Don't get me wrong, it's still a fun time at CAX, but like one thing I knew I wanted to do was this. Like, where else can I talk to someone like this? Like with your, you know, like honestly, I'd have to pay you to talk to you like this. Like this would be a hypno session, leading. Yeah, you know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah. What time is it, by the way?
3:30.
Okay. Oh shoot. Yeah. Let's wind this down.
We started a little later, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, yeah. Let's wind this down.
I like how you brought it back to Bitcoin, though. I'm very proud of you.
No, but like, because I do see what that is like. That's why I brought Dave on, because like, and even my buddy who went monk, he invests heavily. He mines like crypto and stuff. Like cause
it's like that should be his tag. Went monk.
Well, he has no socials at all anymore. He went that hard.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know. Yeah. Let's wind this down here, because I was only expecting to use an hour of your time here, but we got there.
Almost only did, though, because we started like 15 or 20 after.
Okay.
I'm not really concerned. I knew that we would delve deep, and like this time of conversation, like we always end up going down.
It's not a 1 hour conversation.
Like there's so many things, and but also because of like the level that you're at and like what you've learned from your own experience.
Yeah. Well. But yeah, I mean, exactly. the whole point is to keep meeting people like not just you, but like, I just want to keep leveling up. And this is like a cheat code. This is a life hack to doing it. Like, I get the time of people that are like doing stuff I don't know anything about, and some people who are like maybe not doing stuff that's cool. Like, it's just offering another perspective where, you know, because so many people are trapped in, you know, feeding the fiat monster, if you will, because they have no imagination left. Their day is so brainwashed with routine and the same people in the same circles, and like, they don't, you know, and I'm like, well,
it's honestly really hard. Like, speaking from someone, like, I often say I don't have the luxury of not following, like, not listening to myself, but I do. Like, I get afraid and I'll just numb, and like, I'm human too. And especially when I'm being called to like level up and like have more courage, or like speak out more, or even just stop doing what worked before, because it is less scary to just stay in what we're doing that's like working enough. And so sometimes I often say, like, I don't have the luxury of that, but I also know that it's a gift, but it's a gift that is like kind of a heavy burden to carry sometimes.
Yeah, I do agree, because you know, some people I know, you know, they explain, hey, ever since you've been doing this entrepreneur thing, knows how you spend more hours and blah blah. But I'm sitting there like, I don't know, to be honest, I didn't have a choice. Like, remember I told you that like this one was eating me alive to not make the move.
Exactly.
And you know, like, I've never had that strong of a calling, like whether it succeeds or fails, like at least I had to do it. You know.
And you know, one thing I will say that I think is a message that I believe everybody needs to hear right now, especially as we're wrapping up. I do think it's a very important message, because it can feel really lonely, especially when you are in that point when you don't have a choice. And I do think that more and more people are at a point right now where they don't have a choice. Like, you can either heal or just keep being a part of the system and keep numbing and keep suppressing. And to me, that's not a choice, right? And more people are waking up to like, I've got to start to listen to myself. And so that's my advice. My advice is two things. One, like, keep listening to yourself over everybody else, because only you hold the code for like the next step of your life. And it's okay if you numb it. It's okay if sometimes you don't want to face it. But eventually you just have to feel it and you have to face it. And feeling it and facing it, which I call is to go through to get to, will give you the exact next steps all the time.
Yeah.
So then you start to trust in yourself and you have less fear if your boss is an asshole, or you're going to lose your job or your relationship or whatever it is, your health or whatever, because you start to realize that you have the wisdom in you to get through anything.
Yeah.
And then the second thing I'll say, which I think is probably missing, because like, I know there's a lot of marketing out there that is like selling people on getting support and coaching and assistance. But what I find is, like, say, for example, when people come to me, like, or actually a better example is like when I go to someone else and I get support to help me continue to like have the courage or feel through what I need to, or like just stay in my own lane. Because when you do really feel like you have no choice and like this is your purpose, like, I know for me, I am here, and like the next iteration of my work, which is like this show and like helping people buy Bitcoin, but also like in all of my writing and speaking, is to herald a new humanity that has the abundance for all at heart. You need support.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know, when people come to me, it's like kind of like it took them. It's like, I think a lot of us think we should be able to do it on our own. And I think that, yeah, you don't need to buy into all these people that are trying to sell you that you need something outside of yourself to be better. But sometimes you do need help from somebody to help you learn to trust yourself and listen to yourself to be better.
Yeah. Like, I'll piggyback off that. Like one thing I heard Dana White say this, and this is what really resonated with me. He was saying, like, you have to find what you love to do. You have to find a way to do it well. Okay.
Yeah.
And then literally says from there, money or success, however you want to coin that, will come because you're going to be creating like value.
Yeah.
So like most people, like if they're super young, I mean, I always knew I had my hobbies and interests and passions, but I didn't really turn it into like one combination thing until I was in my 30s. So if it took me that long and I'm like a normal guy, then most people, I would say, if they're really young and going through some depression, like, you know, like 19, 20, 21, there's people I meet right now, like just, you know, just like, man, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, okay, like what you need to do, unfortunately, is like, you just got to keep trucking along, bumble through, because you got to figure out what you want to do. You got to figure out again, like, what is your passion, you know?
Well, and like your pain is your path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like your pain is your path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. You have to walk that path and then you'll stabilize, then pursue what you want to do. Or maybe you don't. I don't know.
You know, maybe, but it doesn't really matter. It's more just knowing that like your life will, if you let it, your life will take you where you need to go and things will unfold. But that has way more to do about your willingness to like be open and optimistic than anything else.
So you're a big proponent of kind of just let go.
I'm a big proponent of like life will give you exactly what you need, and you can either say no or take it and feel it and let it take you further along.
Okay.
And you can, and honestly, a lot of times we say no, right? Like, what did Maya Angelou said? Like, first, you know, life will whisper and be like, hey, you know, wake up. Like, hey, focus, like, pay attention to this thing. Or like, hey, take care of this. And then life will like knock on the door and be like, hey, come on. And then life will just drop a house on your head and maybe you'll have an accident or maybe you'll have this. Like, I know for me, I used to keep getting in car accidents every time I was like ignoring, you know, what I needed to see or feel or do. So life will keep showing.
What was it that you were ignoring? Sorry.
I mean, it wasn't even the same thing all the time. It was like I was on my own agenda, just pushing along instead of seeing what I had to see or feeling and stopping and feeling what I had to feel.
But what was the specific, if you don't mind me asking?
I think it was like
this one?
It was like making choices from fear, like really fear-based choices in business. So then at some point I said, okay, I got to stop. Like, I'm not getting in any more car accidents, you know, like show me what I need to see. And then I haven't gotten in a car accident.
Okay.
You know, like life will keep giving you, but it's not that you're doing anything bad. It's just like, we all have that nagging intuition that's like saying, okay, like put attention on this or feel this.
Yeah. Well,
we all have that.
It's your weaknesses, right? But I mean, I have one glaring one. It's like, and like, I haven't gotten a handle on it, but like, it's definitely like the key one to master, if you will. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
And that's what's beautiful. That's like why we always, like, for me, now that I started to talk more about Bitcoin and get more people into Bitcoin, I'm very cautious about being like, I'm not telling you to get into Bitcoin so that you can get rich, but you likely will. But I'm telling you it so like you understand, like it's like it's like a fast track to growth. Because like life offers us opportunities to grow all the time. And for me, I'm mostly interested in just hanging out with people that want to grow.
Yeah.
I'm not really trying to hang out with people that don't want to grow.
Oh, exactly. Well, exactly. I mean,
you know, that's why we're here. But yeah, we should probably.
We should probably wrap it up.
Yeah.
Well, I hope everyone enjoyed this conversation, and obviously, Heather's information will be in the show notes there. Well, Heather, I enjoy talking to you. Perhaps we can pick this up again at a later date.
Oh yeah, I think we could definitely do a part 2 if you're open to it.
Definitely. And check out Heather's show, Unhypnotized. I'm sure there's some.
Oh yeah,
there's some correlations between this topic and those topics.
So many. It's on the Coinbase Media YouTube page.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Channel. Yeah.
Righty. Perfect. Okay. Bye.
Thank you.